The skin is the biggest organ of the body, and one of its main functions is to act as a physical barrier, specifically to protect against mechanical damage, water loss, chemicals and particles, and infectious agents. The skin consists of 3 layers: the epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis. From the surface down, we've got the stratum corneum, which contains dead, flattened corneocytes that are glued together by lipids and corneodesmosomes. Corneocytes just refer to the dead cells that are filled with keratin, and corneodesmosomes refer to proteins that help stick adjacent corneocytes together. Then we move on to the viable epidermis, which contains living keratinocytes, which are also linked by desmosomes, and then we have the dermal-epidermal junction, and then we move on to the dermis itself, which contains collagen and elastin in a ground substance, and the hypodermis, which contains mostly subcutaneous fat. Now, the reason this layering exists rather than one tough sheet is that friction, shear, and impact are mechanically different insults, and a single material can't be optimal against all 3 simultaneously. You'd need something both rigid in order to resist puncture and infinitely deformable to dissipate impact at once. Skin solves this by putting a stiff, low-friction sacrificial layer on top and a tough, energy-absorbing layer underneath. Friction is a surface phenomenon. It is a repetitive shear at the interface between skin and an external object. The stratum corneum is what actually contacts the world, and its resistance comes from its composite structure. This consists of corneocytes, intercellular lipids, and corneodesmosomes, as mentioned earlier. The friction coefficient of skin is not fixed. It depends directly on how intact this layer is. In order to explain what we mean by this, let's look at friction in the everyday sense. By this, we assume that a rougher surface has more friction and a smoother or thinner surface has less friction. That assumption is wrong and incomplete for this case. What friction actually depends on is on 2 things. Firstly, how much real surface area is actually touching and how strongly that touching surface sticks, or adhesion. Here's an analogy to help that stick. If you press a marble onto a pane of glass and then drag it, there's going to be a tiny contact path, and the glass and marble are both stiff, so nothing deforms and ends up gliding. That is low friction. Now press a soft rubber eraser onto the same glass and drag it. The eraser is compliant. It squishes and molds itself into the surface. So way more of it is actually in contact, and rubber has high adhesion to begin with. It doesn't glide, it grips and drags. This is high friction. Instead of the marble, let's use the stratum corneum. If the stratum corneum is intact, then it is a stiff, dry, well-organized layer. Under a given push, it barely deforms, so the real contact patch with, for example, your shoe, means that it's a small contact with low friction, therefore it slides. Once you've removed layers, for example by overexfoliation or just naturally thinner skin in babies or an elderly person, you're left with stripped or thin stratum corneum. Under the exact same push, it deforms more. It spreads out and conforms to the texture of whatever's rubbing against it. That increases the contact area. More contact area, plus the fact that the skin's tissue is naturally somewhat more adhesive compared to glass, results in a higher friction coefficient. A high friction gripping surface doesn't slide when force is applied, it sticks, and the layers underneath it have to shear against each other to accommodate the motion instead. That is how a blister forms. The top layer grips the sock and stays put, and the layer below it keeps moving with your foot, and the 2 delaminate from each other. Fluid fills the gap, so the barrier that's supposed to slide has instead started to grip. The healthy corneum's whole mechanical purpose is to be the stiff, low-friction thing that slides so the layers underneath it never have to shear.